did I click it? Paul, how are you? I'm really
all the more happy for you blokes having come here.
I know you are dedicated. That's
Oh,
what I see.
we like
the way you lectured. It was an absolute passion to pass this knowledge for the next generation.
Well, that's what
you are doing a wonderful mission and all that.
That's what our purpose is, to help
Please
people understand.
continue and pass this message to all the people in the world. It's a good news you're telling them.
It's great.
And
it's
the journey started here, I think.
Yes.
You are the outcome of it.
Well,
what goes around comes around. Isn't that nice?
That's the way the world works.
My name is Rayappa, Kasi from India.
Rayappa?
I came all the way. My friends brought me here just to see Stromatolites.
Well, my friends helped me build this place. So.
Thank you, Paul. You look like Paul Hogan. You know that? You should put that hat.
He's older than I am. Just.
All right. Thank you so much. Come, I'm going to come and take the hat and take a picture. All right.
We were a colony of England, just like many countries in those days. But each of the states of Western Australia was a separate colony. New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, Western Australia. So we had a governor here who decided to build a telegraph line. Started in 1870 here, came up through Hamelin Pool. We opened here in 1884, and it continued on all the way through to the port of Broome. You know, Broome here, and the place called Cable Beach. Well, that is given the name Cable Beach because there was an undersea cable laid from Broome out to Cocos Islands, and then up through Sri Lanka, India, communicating back to
England. Europe.
Back to England. And this all happened before the turn of the century. Can you imagine? It was just a simple
underground cable.
Big jars of acid with some electrodes generating a small current, and they'd link these together and get enough current to send a signal 150 miles.
Oh, it's a telegraph,
So it's
All primitive.
very simple.
All those
Very
machines,
simple.
all those machines.
And eventually the battery power improved, and we had lead acid batteries, and they could link those together to send a signal 300 miles. That's when they could get from Cable Beach in Broome out to Cocos Islands.
All right.
And that cable was laid by sailing ships.
Okay.
To Cocos, to Sri Lanka, to India, and all.
Amazing.
It's all exactly the same today
Mm-mm.
in 1897. These were all telegraph lines too, because the gold rushes were on.
Oh, okay.
People wanted to know where gold was to be found. And such a simple thing, you could just set up a wire and send a Morse code signal to someone to let them know gold has been found. Or
Amazing.
yeah.
That's how you communicate, no?
Dot dash.
Titanic distress code.
Yeah. Dot dash 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 dot.
That is so nice. We never seen them in life. This is
1884. And it was built, I was telling the gentleman before, it was built because we needed to communicate with Great Britain. We were still a colony of Great Britain in those times, and we had to build a telegraph line from the Swan River colony up through Hamelin Pool. Here we are, that's Shark Bay, all of that area, and here is Hamelin Pool at the telegraph station. And the line continued on up to Broome and went undersea at Broome, at Cable Beach, out to Cocos Island and up to Sri Lanka and India and back to London. To talk to Britain.
see ya, this side.
It's just a piece of wire.
See ya, wire.
A piece of wire through the bush.
This was the mobile phone.
That's all
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Something like this pole here, carrying a piece of wire. And people say, but you need two pieces of wire for the current to go that way and return to Earth. But you don't, because this was grounded by the Morse code key. So you had a current, steady current, and then it was interrupted.
What all that? That man, what is doing? Without clothes.
He was a linesman working on the line. And he was a bit of a joker. Of course, in those years it was very, very hard, and you had to make your own fun.
I know. Paul?
That was probably around the early 1960s.
Paul, activate
Oh,
for them.
okay.
Yeah.
So this is Morse code, if you haven't heard it before. And Morse code was invented by an American, Samuel Morse, and his partner.
Titanic. Remember Titanic?
And this is the first message ever sent to the American Senate.
That's really cool.
So he wanted the American government to invest in telegraph. He just invented this code, and his colleague had invented a way to send it, and he said we can get the government to invest. So he sent that message to the American Senate to ask them to invest in telegraph. And the message was, "What hath God wrought?"
That's the battery, man.
That's it.
This was the battery. That's it. And they drop in.
Yeah.
That's the power they got in this.
They would generate enough power to send the signal 150 miles, and then they would have a station like this to take down the signal and send it on.
All the electrons.
These are the men of the day, the telegraphists. In this picture,
Okay.
they are working at that desk, and that Morse code key is the old code key you see there.
All right. Ah. Oh, that's right. It's right here. See?
So that's the original stuff, eh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing.
And this was the settlement. When this was the building you're in now.
Okay,
this
that is the
telegraph
first
station.
one. Yeah.
Yep. And the settlement grew
Yeah.
to have quarters for the telegraph men, the telegraph station operators.
Mm-hmm.
They were their living quarters. Quarters for the linesmen, like this man.
Okay.
The telegraph station here.
Okay.
Some harness rooms for the camel harnesses. The camels were used for transport, and that's a saddle.
Oh, saddle there.
No road, nothing, no?
No,
Oh my God.
not even a
If
dirt.
you are lost in the bush, finished it.
Well, a lot of people, you'll see when you go for a walk, a lot of people had trouble. So it was a very, but with telegraph, when it was invented, it just improved things immensely in communication. People would come here to collect a telegram, to send a letter, or
Yeah.
just to meet and find some news. What's
Yeah.
been happening? What have you
Oh,
heard
yeah.
on the telegraph? What's been
Exactly.
happening?
Like WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Today's WhatsApp was Telegram
Yeah,
in
yeah,
those days. Yeah.
Yeah. Large sheep stations, 17,000 acres, very big. And telephone was invented, of course, and this was the first telephone exchange established in this building to communicate with the sheep stations and give them a line to the outside world. So it was just a plug-in system. So Hamelin sheep station here wanted to talk to Nerin, so they would take Hamelin and place it in to Nerin.
Is this the original floor?
This is, yeah. It was covered with lino, and under the lino were some old newspapers that told us a lot about the history of Western Australia. So yes, Adji Cross was his name. He was the head linesman here, but he always was upset because he was never given a permanent position. For 20 years he worked here, and he was always temporary with the Postmaster General's department.
So he was protesting.
He was protesting. He was a funny man. His wife Grace, in this picture here, his wife Grace was the postmistress.
Okay.
And this is around 1950.
Okay.
And you see by the old vehicles here,
Mm-hmm.
Hard life.
and the way that people were dressed there. This was what the settlement looked like when we came here to start refurbishing it. So pretty barren. This was the track in from the south. You came in on the bitumen road now, but that was a dirt road, and you headed off this way to the north, to Carnarvon, to Broome. You headed north along this track, following the telegraph lines.
All right.
And Denham, of course, was built later, and you went this way to Denham, down that track to Denham.
Okay. Hmm.
But a lot was happening. When telegraph was established here, of course, the stations could communicate, and ships were coming into Hamelin Pool, or lighters, they call them, like this
Okay.
vessel. And the stations would bring their wool down, bring their bales of wool down, and store them in a shed near where you would go to see the stromatolites today. And the wool would be loaded onto a camel dray and loaded into a small dinghy, and then rowed out to these bigger ships waiting in deeper water.
All right.
And that's the way the wool was exported.
All right. All right.
And of course sandalwood, the exotic sandalwood was cut in this area.
Yeah.
And you'll see...
There was sandalwood in this area.
Going to
Yeah.
India, taken to India.
Well, taken all over the world because it was very aromatic, and I think India was a big grower of sandalwood itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because this was growing in very dry country,
All right.
it's very aromatic.
Aromatic.
Very
Exactly.
strong.
Very strong. Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Even today you have sandalwood
Yes,
trees
sure,
here.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. Good.
So there was a lot of activity here.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
The
Okay.
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
4.5
That's
billion years
yeah.
ago.
Exactly.
And they say as the planet cooled and these volcanic gases were condensing on the surface of the Earth, they were forming shallow seas, very highly saline shallow seas
Okay.
all over the planet. And these seas became the ideal environment for a little microbe called the cyanobacteria
Yeah.
to begin growing.
Cyanobacteria. Yeah.
Yeah. So that began growing in many places on the planet about 3.5 billion years ago. So you can imagine the scene with these volcanoes blowing off, shallow seas forming, the stromatolites just beginning to form. It was quite a strange environment. But they are credited with giving the Earth its first oxygen content because they grow by photosynthesis. Like modern day plants, they were taking in the gases from this violent explosion, they were taking in the carbon dioxide, and they were using sunlight for energy and giving off oxygen. And you can see in the aquarium we have here tiny bubbles of oxygen on the stromatolite surface. Just very tiny bubbles of oxygen that break away. So when you see it like this, you can imagine that there must have been masses and masses of stromatolites all over the planet to create sufficient oxygen for other plant life to begin, and life progressed for 3.5 billion years, and along came man. And there's still a bit of a mystery there. We haven't
I
made
know.
that final connection, but
I know.
we've only been here a very short time
Yeah.
compared to the cyanobacteria growing the stromatolites. And Hamelin Pool today is one of only 2 places in the world where marine stromatolites grow. And this is a satellite picture of Hamelin Pool, and you can see that marine stromatolites, here we are down here, and marine stromatolites grow all the way along this 35-mile shoreline. But Hamelin Pool at the telegraph station here is the only place we're allowed to access them because it's a World Heritage Site now, and they're very precious. So I'll show you this 5-minute video. And,
What all this on the table? Those stuff here?
yeah, I'll tell you about them in a moment.
Okay.
Well, and this shell has been cut from those quarries for many years, and it's been used for building material around Shark Bay. So if you stay here tonight, that old toilet block there we built out of shell block. In Denham there's a little chapel built out of shell block, you see here, and Hamelin Pool Homestead was built out of shell block, and the old Furler restaurant in Denham. So there's quite a few buildings. We cut it out as you see in this picture.
Your building also made of that?
Yeah,
building?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's made of shell block.
Don't you think we are ruining them or?
Well, it's only allowed to be cut today for restoration of
Okay.
buildings that already exist. So
Okay.
you can no longer build new buildings out.
All right. All right.
But it's about 10 metres deep in this area where you see us cutting shell there.
Okay.
We don't use these old saws these days.
All right.
We use a chainsaw.
Okay. Okay.
Here we go. Okay. Let's see what. All right.
Traces of the earliest life on Earth can be found today at Shark Bay, a World Heritage Area on the western coast of Australia. Divided by Perrin Peninsula, the innermost body of water is known as Hamelin Pool. This placid shoreline is studded with strange formations. Called Stromatolites after the Greek translation for layered rocks, they are actually built by colonies of microscopic organisms. These stromatolites are a legacy of Earth's ancient beginnings. The stromatolite builders need sunlight to live and spread out in the crystal clear shallows. Because of its barren, salty nature, Hamelin Pool provides a nearly ideal situation for these microscopic creatures. In this shallow haven, they are largely free of predators. Here they flourish, the descendants of ancient organisms, slowly building up their pedestals of rock. Hamelin Pool provides a glimpse of what the shallow seas of our world might have looked like more than 3 billion years ago. In these waters, the ancient process of forming stromatolites is still going on today. The surface of the rock is soft and slimy. The bubbles are oxygen given off by tiny creatures. The yellow-green tint is chlorophyll, essential for the most common form of photosynthesis. The surface of these stromatolites is actually covered by one of the Earth's most primitive forms of life. Magnified many times, this family of organisms are today known as cyanobacteria. Like their more highly developed relatives, the green plants, cyanobacteria produce oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis. Further magnification of the bacteria reveals they are a long, thin cell covered by a sheath. Because it's rather sticky, the sheath collects fine grains of sediment suspended in the water. In stromatolite construction, the stickiness is the mortar and the sand is the masonry. On the seashore, the natural habitat of cyanobacteria, the waves and wind are constantly breaking up the beach sand. This incessant action of wave and wind provides a nearly unlimited store of fine materials for the stromatolite builders. The stromatolites are formed bit by bit over an extended period of time. Some are the work of hundreds of thousands of years. Every day when the sun beats down on the cyanobacteria, the cycle of growth continues. Using photosynthesis, they grow by converting sunlight and carbon dioxide into food and oxygen. The wave and tidal action of the sea stirs up fine grains of material which collect on the surface of the stromatolites. At night, the cyanobacteria secrete calcium carbonate, which cements the grains together. Then, in the light of a new day, photosynthesis begins again, and the cyanobacteria continue the ancient cycle. The rate of growth is slow, around 0.5 millimetre a year, but repeated over countless days and nights, this process can create large, stony colonies. Given enough time, it can change a world. The bacteria that produce these rocky stromatolites are a very simple and ancient life form. They appeared on Earth billions of years ago and have remained largely unchanged in nature and habit.
So that's it.
All right, well, I,
Oh, that's Phil Playford talking.
Yeah.
So there are these stromatolites, as you see, grow very slowly. That stromatolite there is 1,000 years worth of growth in Hamelin Pool, and the scientist Kath Gray, a scientist from Geological Survey in Western Australia, sectioned this for us so we could show you how the stromatolite growth is in layers. You see this layered growth. With each day's sunlight, the filaments of cyanobacteria grow through it, trap the sediment and build these mounds. So that's about 1,000 years worth of growth in Hamelin Pool. So we've had these stromatolites growing in the aquarium since about 1990.
Oh, they are 1990, yeah? They must have started off like this. Do they? No?
We've hardly, we haven't noticed.
You have
any
noticed
growth.
any growth, yeah. Oh my God.
They're alive.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
All right. But they need a natural habitat, probably, isn't it? The
Well-
water is doubly saline, no?
Twice as salty.
Twice
as
as saltous, yeah.
And we change the water here and keep
Uh-huh.
it at the right salinity. We circulate the water,
Okay.
create some wave action.
Okay. That means 7% salt must be there. 3.5 usually, now 7% salt here.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
that's
about
double. 3.5 தானே salt கடல்ல இப்போ 7 இது. That is the
6
condition.
times they say salt in the sea.
3.5. Yeah. அப்போ 12 நீங்க சொல்றது 6 12 ஆயிடும்.
Twice as salty.
Oh, yeah,
What
exactly.
about Himalayan salt?
Sorry?
Himalayan salt.
Yeah.
How many is
Yeah. Salt. There's actually a salt works
Rock,
here
yeah.
that,
Rocks, yeah.
actually mines the salt.
Mhm. This is all seashells and so on,
Yes. I was
So-
going to say to you, this
Okay.
this is a stromatolite.
Oh my God.
This is a fossil of a stromatolite.
Okay.
This is 3.5 billion years
Oh
old.
my God.
This came from an area in the Pilbara called Karajini. Have you heard of Karajini National Park?
No.
In Mount Tom Price in the Hamersley Range.
Uh-huh.
In that area, there's a lot of banded iron ore, and this is actually created by stromatolites.
Oh my God.
These oceans in this area were very high in iron content,
Mhm.
and the stromatolites, instead of building a calcium mound like these, trapping the sediment and building a calcium mound, they built layers and layers of iron oxide.
Wow.
So you can see the same growth pattern with
Mhm.
the stromatolites with each day bonding the material together. So
Again 3.8 billion years.
3.5 billion years old.
Oh wow.
Oh, actually it's 2.7. This one here is
Okay.
2.7
Okay,
billion.
2.7.
This one here from the North Pole is
Yeah.
3.5 billion years.
Okay.
Not pole, huh?
North Pole is it's a name that the geologists and paleontologists
Okay.
give to a
Oh,
place,
right.
but it's out near Marble Bar.
Ah,
You've heard of
okay.
Marble Bar.
Okay. Oh yeah, that I heard Marble Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, bar. Yeah, I heard that. There are
Okay.
very tall stromatolites. They grow there in Marble
Ah.
Bar, isn't it?
Fossils, only fossils.
Only fossils there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are the snakes, huh?
Yes, in Hamelin Pool there's very little sea life, but there are some sea snakes.
Okay.
Occasional sea snakes.
Okay.
But all of these are fossilised stromatolites with
All
the
right.
same growth pattern, all from different parts
All
of
right.
WA.
All right.
They're fossilised marine stromatolites.
It's a Western Australia. Mm.
Now there are other types of stromatolites that exist
Mhm.
in the world and in Western Australia, and they're called thrombolites or estuarine
Yeah.
stromatolites.
Yeah.
They're not marine stromatolites like we are describing here.
Okay.
So they grow they don't trap, they grow by a different method. They don't trap sediment and grow through it and build mounds. They just secrete calcium carbonate.
All right.
They just precipitate calcium carbonate.
No oxygen. Just
No.
okay.
Well, they did, yes, they
Okay.
did produce oxygen,
Okay.
and you'll see them south of Perth at
Okay.
Lake Clifton.
Okay,
south of
okay.
Perth.
Okay.
It's only in small areas.
All
in
right.
Saline lakes.
All right, all right.
Not in ocean environments. Or sea
They are
environments.
strombolites. Strombolites.
Thrombolites.
Yeah.
Or marine estuarine stromatolites.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. All right. That is beautiful. That is amazing. Thanks for your beautiful lecture. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
What is this? Well, sometimes you see Hamelin Pool here from the satellite picture. It's got about 3 little fine fingers of deep water coming into Hamelin Pool. Hamelin Pool is very shallow normally, but there is some channels that these ships used to come through, and fish and dolphins and turtles come through those channels too from time to time. But there's not a lot to eat in Hamelin Pool.
All right. There's
So
no
they
food. Yeah.
sometimes die and get washed up on the beach, and
Okay.
this is just the remains of some of them.
Yeah. Thank God nothing comes to destroy. Yeah.
No.
No food there.
That's how they've managed
They
to
may
exist.
exist. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be a carnage.
Yes, yeah. And that's why they've died out. And all over the world,
Yeah.
there's been populations that have started living on the oceans near stromatolites. There's been
All right.
animals that eat them. But Hamelin Pool has survived because there's nothing here. No
I
big
know.
cities,
I
no
know.
towns, no people to destroy them.
No pollution.
animals,
No pollution.
no pollution.
You stay here, huh? You live here or?
I don't live here anymore.
Okay.
Another lady runs the place now, and she's
All
on
right.
holiday, so
All
I
right.
came back
All right.
to help her out.
All
So
right.
I like coming back with